When most people think about affordable housing for seniors, they consider renting, buying a small home, or maybe moving to a cheaper town or area to save money. Another option that doesn't get talked about quite as much, housing cooperatives. And for some seniors, this could be a more affordable choice and a more stable path than they might realize. What I think of when I think of cooperatives or co-ops is from the movies or TV, New York City co-ops, where people have rent-stabilized housing and apartments that, if they move out, they're going to have to start paying current market rates, where the apartment or co-op may be rent-stabilized and secure in that one price. But this isn't the option that I'm talking about. It's more across the U.S. There are co-ops, maybe not everywhere, but in many places. And that's what this video is about today. So let's get started exploring housing cooperatives or co-ops. So a housing co-op can be more affordable, but it comes with pros and cons, just like every other affordable senior housing option out there. This is just how it is. Every one of these situations is not going to be right for each person. But some of the general rules of a housing co-op are rules that are strictly enforced, kind of like an HOA, shared responsibility in that everyone pays a monthly fee generally to help with the upkeep of the building, basically. It might also pay some utilities, things like that. And a different mindset than traditional renting or owning of your own place. So some of the pros, and I'm going to read here from my computer. The pros include a co-op can be more affordable than buying a traditional home or condo. And usually co-ops are condos. They are a unit within a larger building, and each person has their own private space. It's not co-housing where everybody lives together and you might have your own bedroom and a bathroom, and then you share a kitchen and living space. No, this is usually a separate condo where you would have your own kitchen, your own living space, your own bedroom, bathroom. That's generally the case with a co-op. Or a positive is that oftentimes buying into a co-op can be a considerably less down payment or buy-in, because you buy shares in the co-op, in the cooperative. It's an organization that owns the building and the grounds. You don't actually own your unit. You would buy shares in the corporation, and oftentimes these co-ops are community owned, where everyone owns a share of it so that you have a say in how the money is spent. Maybe to put on a new roof, to landscape an area, those kind of things. And it sometimes has a lower monthly cost than market rate housing. Like if you went to buy a condo on your own and have an HOA fee, that HOA fee may be higher than what the monthly cost would be, because there is generally a monthly fee to live in a co-op, and I'll get into that a little later. There's a sense of stability oftentimes living in a co-op. You aren't paying a landlord for rent. You don't have a mortgage. You know what your expenses will be each month. And every co-op's going to be different, so research is needed to find the one that would work for you. A landlord, if you're renting, could raise the rent or sell the property and you might have to move. In a co-op, it's more stable because once you're in, you own a share in the cooperative. Many co-ops offer a community that you can't find elsewhere. It may be geared to 55 and older, or 50 and older, or whatever number, and there will be people in your demographic, and that may be a good or bad thing. It depends on your viewpoint. Another plus to living in a co-op is knowing that your monthly fee is going to handle repairs for many items: the building itself, a new roof, snow removal, lawn maintenance, mowing the grass in the summer. All those things are usually covered in the monthly fee that is a requirement of living there. Like living in a condo or townhouse can be a better fit for seniors because it's a simpler way to live. It's like renting, but you have an ownership share in the co-op. But you don't also have a lot of the maintenance that comes with a home, like a standalone single-family home. The maintenance on the outside of the building certainly is generally done by the co-op's maintenance people. Snow removal, lawn care, all that, again, is done by someone else. It's something you don't have to do yourself or think about or hire out and pay an additional fee. It's generally included in your monthly fee. Limited equity co-ops, and these generally keep living in a co-op, in that specific one, affordable. It doesn't maximize profit like a corporation that owns an apartment building or an apartment complex. It is geared toward low-income, stable housing that does not go up in price. So that's a big plus. Let's talk about the cons of living in a housing cooperative or co-op. And these may or may not be cons. It really depends on each person, what they can tolerate, what they consider to be okay or not okay. But here are just a few things to consider. Buying into a co-op is just that. You're buying in. You're buying a share or shares of the cooperative. And a cooperative means you're working together, I think. So it's for a common good, but you're not going to own the unit that you buy or that you are buying into. It's different than traditional ownership. You have to be approved. That's a consideration. The ones I've looked into all require between a $50 and $75 fee for a background check, basically. They have rules. And so this may not be a good option for every person, but it also may be a plus. You may feel more secure that they're vetting people, that they're screening people for certain things. It really depends on what your viewpoint is on this. You're not owning the unit like you would if you bought a traditional condo or townhouse or a single family house. You're buying shares in the cooperative. Rules can be stricter. Many things need board approval for any changes, whatever that might entail. There are financial requirements sometimes. This is just on a case-by-case basis. There are occupancy rules. Some might be 55 and older, so a younger family wouldn't be able to move in. That may or may not be a good thing. If you're a senior, you may appreciate having other seniors living in your community. Pet rules. They can say no pets. They can say cats only. You can have a bird, but no dogs. Sometimes they accept dogs. It just depends. All of these things can be a plus or a minus, actually. And there might be some resale restrictions. It'll be a little bit different because to sell your place, the new people who want to buy it would have to be screened. So it might take a little longer. These are just things to consider. Buying into a co-op community can have some other restrictions. Like you may not be able to rent out your unit for any reason, like for short term or long term. It may have to be owner occupied. Monthly fees still exist. These are, I would say, always a part of living in a co-op. The monthly fee covers possibly property taxes, which is a plus to me. You wouldn't have to come up, with that amount on your own. You're paying it each month. The co-op keeps that aside, sets it aside, and pays the property taxes for all the units. You don't have to do that. I mean, you are paying for it, but it's not like once a year you have to come up with this large amount of money. They also often pay, the monthly fee covers the insurance. This wouldn't include renter's insurance. That would be for your private property inside your unit, but generally the insurance is covers the building, the structure. So I think that's a plus. It can be a con. All these different things, maybe you like to be in more control of when you pay out, what you pay out, but there's always give and take. Not all co-ops are easy to find. I have been searching for several weeks now to do this video, and I haven't found co-ops in every state. Not that I've looked in every state, but let's take Michigan for an example. There are a considerable amount of co-ops, and a lot of them are 55 and older, so they're senior co-ops. And each state's going to be different, and it's not easy to find them. What I do is screen on realtor.com, and I'll do a separate video on this just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. But just generally here, I screen it for just condos and then put in a price like up to $100,000, because I'm trying to keep this affordable, and you may have some money to put down on a condo or to buy into a co-op housing community. So I make the parameters very strict so that it doesn't show me, $1 million houses, because that's not what this is all about. And then I read the description, and it will say, in the Sunny Acres co-op community, so it's a co-op. But if they just say, this condo in Sunny Acres is blah, 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 you don't know for sure, and it's probably not. If they didn't mention the word co-op in the description, it's probably not a housing cooperative or a co-op. So finding them is somewhat of a challenge. And then you have to really dig deep, read everything you can, possibly call the listing agent to find out more, because they don't all list everything. And it's very frustrating to try to narrow it down to what might be a good fit. So a lot of research is needed. This is not just like finding a place and knowing all about it right away. You have to really dig in there and find out what it offers. So another con might be if the cooperative is poorly run, if the money isn't handled in a responsible way. That can be a problem. Researching this is something I think everybody should do who considers buying shares into a co-op, because you don't want to have problems that, poor money management might cause. And a cooperative can be affordable, but affordable doesn't always mean simple. Doing your research is key when researching and looking into cooperative housing. But some co-ops, the ones that I'm researching, are designed to provide housing first, not to maximize profits. The structure is just totally different than a private owner who wants to rent out places or sell at a high price. So in that regard, co-ops are great, or can be great. There's often a lower purchase price. Like I said, there's some that I found, some in Indiana and some in Michigan, that have a very reasonable, to me, buy-in of around $10,000 or $11,000. That is kind of unheard of. That's your entry point. It's kind of like a small down payment. And then there is the monthly payment every month. But you know exactly what else you have to pay for. So I think it's very affordable if you can get past that buy-in. You know, if you have the money for the buy-in, the monthly fee is generally, I'm not going to quote anything here. I'm going to do a separate video on several communities that I've found online. And you know what to expect. You know what's covered, and that lets you budget better with the rest of your money. The limited equity cooperatives that I mentioned are structured to help have a built-in affordability factor. They aren't out to make a profit, so they're not going to keep raising rent, or not rent, but the monthly fee all the time out of greed. It's if prices rise, they may have to make the monthly fee higher. But it's not out of, it's another year, we're just going to arbitrarily raise this monthly fee. That is not how cooperatives generally work. And there's a board that votes on all this, and the board members live there. They own shares, like you would if you bought in to one of these communities. Shared costs can reduce individual burdens. This can be property taxes, insurance on the building or structure, and maintenance and repairs. The word cooperative or co-op can mean different things in different parts of the country or areas. So don't assume they all work the same way. They don't. You have to do your research and investigate each option. So who is this for? A co-op might be a good fit for people priced out of traditional home ownership. Older adults who want stability without having the burden of taking care of a house. The lawn maintenance, the repairs, the roof, everything that, can go wrong on a dwelling. Retirees or near retirees looking for a simpler housing model. People open to following rules, shared governance, and community-minded living. And most importantly, I think, is people who are willing to do some homework and research about where they're going to move and what they can afford, because this one requires lots of research. I think it's fun. You may not think it's fun, but it's worth looking into this option. It just may be the perfect fit. It may not. And it's great if you value long-term, stable housing over trying to make a profit when you move from this place, because that's rarely the goal. These communities keep the units affordable for whoever's going to live there. So it's not something that you could, use as an investment to earn more money down the road, generally. So if you want something that's more stable than renting, but is more realistic than buying a standalone house, looking into buying shares in a co-op might be the perfect fit for you. So who is this not a good fit for? Buying shares into a cooperative housing community may not be great if you want complete freedom to do what you want with your dwelling. It'll have some rules and restrictions, and those need to be explored, before buying in. Anyone who dislikes rules, boards, approval processes, if this just rubs you the wrong way, this is probably not the best option. If you don't mind, if it's things you can deal with and agree to, then it's okay. People wanting to maximize their resale profit. If you are going to plan on buying into a co-op community and then flip it in a few years to make money, that's not the point generally of co-ops. They're generally to keep prices stable and they don't go up a lot in value. Anyone who wants a fast and simple real estate transaction probably shouldn't do a co-op. There is an approval process from the board. They do a background check. They kind of check you out to make sure you'd be a good fit in whatever ways. It's not straightforward. Anybody can go and buy a house. If they have the money, they can basically buy it. That isn't always the case with a co-op. This might not work if you're not willing to look at all the different financials involved and the fees and the governing documents to see what you're getting into, because all of those things exist in a housing cooperative. If you need to rent out a unit that you buy for part of the year, it may not be good because there may not be that option. The bylaws and rules may say no rentals ever. So that would not be good. If you value your total independence over shared responsibility, a housing co-op probably isn't a good idea. And people who get frustrated by meetings and group dynamics of governing may not want to live or buy into a housing cooperative. So basically, the goal isn't just to find something cheap when you're looking for affordable senior housing. The goal is to find something affordable, manageable, and peaceful for this time in your life. You want to be happy there. So you need to make sure it's a right fit for you. I'd be very curious if you've ever considered living in a housing cooperative, if you live in one, and what it's like. If you've looked into it and decided against it, please share with us. If you've looked into it and did buy into a housing co-op, let us know. I think it's a great option. It's a little more work all around, I think, to find the right one, to research the rules and guidelines you're going to have to follow. To get approved is another step that not every other housing option has. But it might just be the perfect option for some people. So let me know in the comments below, and I really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.